Hi guys, for those just joining us, welcome to the How to Raise Money to Keep Your Community Active webinar. We have got a jam-packed session for you today. Before we get started, let's just go through a little bit of housekeeping. We have allowed 60 minutes for this session, and that does include a Q&A at the end. So do use the chat box, which I can see some of you popping some messages into already, which is fab. Thank you. Do use that chat box to ask any questions, either to myself, Zoe at Crowdfunder. Alternatively, we've been joined by Lucy and Becky from Sport England, who will be on hand to answer any questions to do with the Movement Fund and crowdfunding as part of receiving a pledge from them. This is a live session. However, we do record these sessions and you will receive a link to the replay as part of a follow-up email from ourselves. We'll also include links to any of the resources that we talk through today. So you'll have everything you need to start your crowdfunding journey with that email. So do keep an eye on your inboxes in the next couple of days. Now, if you find you have any issues with your internet connection, the best thing to do is just leave the webinar and follow that join up or the registration link that you would have been sent. Follow that to come straight back into the live room. You might find that you lose the previous chat in the chat box, but just drop a message into there and we can bring you back up to speed. You can also use the Q&A box, which you will find at the bottom of your screen. You can use that to direct any questions to ourselves as well as the chat box if you so wish. And if you find that a video of ourselves is actually sat over the slides and you're finding it difficult to look at the content, please just head to the right, the top right of your screen, and you should be able to select side by side speaker view, and that will remove us as panelists from the slide, make it a little bit easier for you to view. Okay, so why is it a good idea to be diversifying your income streams and considering something like crowdfunding in order to bring in some revenue, bring in some funding for your organization? Well, I'm sure that many of you have felt this in recent times, that actually it can be more tricky, more competitive to receive straightforward grants, especially if it's unrestricted funding, for example, which we all know can be quite tricky to get our hands on. It's a very competitive market at the moment. So there are lots of reasons to think about bringing in some revenue or bringing in some funding from different sources, and crowdfunding can be a really great way to do that. It's brilliant to reduce the financial risk for your organization by actually not putting all of your eggs in one basket, if you like. You've got more options available to you. If a particular grant that you would be receiving year on year out actually kind of ceases to exist, or maybe you do not get that for the year that you were hoping to, it means that you've got other avenues to explore. That can help to increase your financial stability. It may even unlock some new opportunities. So, crowdfunding can be a really great way to actually put your message out into kind of the ether. It's a very supporter focused way of raising money. It's essentially doing your face-to-face fundraising, but in a digital format. And it allows you to really get your key messages across and out there into the public domain. And that can really help to start those conversations as well with potentially partners or organizations outside of your crowdfunding campaign. We've heard multiple times that people have crowdfunded, and that's actually enabled them to go on and unlock funding from other organizations, whether that's using the crowdfunder as a match fund. So this is the money that we've raised towards our project. Will you please match it? And that might be with a local authority, for example. It could even open up some corporate funding or corporate sponsorship further down the line. It's a great way to actually strengthen that donor engagement and keep your supporters, as we like to call them at Crowdfunder, really engaged and really on board with your fundraising strategy as a whole. And it gives you a brilliant kind of pool of people, if you like, or a crowd, as we like to call it, to go back to and continue to build those relationships. It helps you to be flexible and adaptable. So as the kind of grant making space ebbs and flows and changes and evolves, it puts you in a great position to be in control of how and when you're raising money, gives you the flexibility to raise money in a short amount of time if needed, and you can be adaptable to that landscape as well. So there are six key ways that you can raise money on Crowdfunder UK. We're going to focus primarily on the extra funding element because obviously we have Sport England here with us today, who are one of our match funders or extra funding partners, we call them. If, for example, you have a project that might not be eligible for some of our extra funding, or you're thinking about different ways in which you can raise money, and actually that's not something that you're focusing on at the moment, there are some wonderfully exciting ways in which you can utilize the platform. So you can just do a donations-led campaign. So you may be familiar with doing this online with maybe some other platforms. It's very similar. You create a project, you ask for donations, those donations flood in because you're so good at promoting your project and you raise the money. You could add rewards to that project if you so wish, and we'll talk about rewards a little bit later on. But essentially, it's a great way to incentivize people to give to you. It's actually giving back to your supporters, and that might be a benefit of some kind. It could be coaching, it could be use of the facilities, a social media shout out, maybe a product or a service from a local business that's gifted them to you. So rewards can be a really great way to boost engagement and actually incentivize people's giving to your project. We have prize draws, which I'm sure you're all familiar with in terms of an online raffle. The pros of running a prize draw with us is it can be really accessible for your supporters to get behind you by buying a ticket for a relatively small amount of money. Obviously, you're in control of that, but it could give them access to some incredible prizes. So it's a really exciting way to engage your audience, and those can be replicated throughout the year. We do see some project owners running monthly prize draws, for example. And they might only have a small target that they're trying to raise each month, but it means that they're actually engaging and building this audience, which are now looking to see what prize draw is coming out next month. And that's a really lovely way to build that audience. The extra funding, as I mentioned, which we'll take more of a deep dive into a little bit later. So we work with multiple funding partners, both nationally and regionally, and there are lots of pots of money available to you if your project is eligible. You would receive either live match funding or a one-off pledge from some of our partners, and that can again really boost your ability to raise your target, connect with not only your supporters because they get excited about this match fund and their donations being to unlock it, but connects you with our partners as well. And that can lead to some really lovely relationships going forward too. You can have people regularly donate to your project, and you can also have others fundraising on your behalf. So lots of great things that you can do with the platform, and just really deciding what is the best way to use the functionality that's going to have the most impact for your project and your fundraising needs. One thing that I would love for you to consider when you're thinking about raising the money is some of these additional benefits that come with raising money in this way. Because it's all very supporter focused and you're encouraged to put your story, your personalities, your kind of history of the organization, all of these things out there into the public domain, the benefits that you can receive from raising money in this way can be as important as the amount of money that you're raising. For example, it's a great way to create some validation around what you're doing. It can build your confidence as an organization in your idea, and it can get your crowd or your community really excited and invested in what's about to happen. That could then lead to, those people actually coming along and being participants in your project delivery or volunteers, for example. It'll help to build awareness around not only your organization, but your potential, your sport or your delivery, your physical activity that you're looking to bring to the community, and get people excited about when your project comes to fruition. Everybody that supports your campaign and everybody that kind of works alongside it, volunteers with you to get this up and running and going, will become advocates for not only your project, but your organization as well. They will start talking to their friends and family, their colleagues about this great crowdfunding campaign that they're a part of or that they've donated to. And that will build organically a really lovely, engaged audience. It will lead to more meaningful connections. And again, as I mentioned with those prize draws, it becomes a group of people that can be on this journey with you that you can go back to with different fundraising needs, different asks, which might be volunteering, it might be, help with promotion, all sorts of things can come off the back of running a successful crowdfunding campaign. You will also learn new skills, no doubt. For some of you, this could be a completely new way of fundraising. Not only will you become a pro at raising money in this way, you may well learn some transferable skills, like being able to create that engaging content to promote your campaign, writing a compelling kind of story to put onto your page, taking great images, marketing and networking. All of these things that are part of a successful crowdfunding campaign can be really useful throughout your organization going forward as well. And of course, that extra funding that we've mentioned. So why is it that sports projects and physical activity projects work so well as crowdfunders? Well, ultimately, you already have a ready-made crowd. You have a group of people around you that have a shared passion, whether that is participants, members, the volunteers that keep your organization running, or members of staff. It enables you to have a group of people at your disposal to reach out to, not only for donations, but maybe to offer rewards, maybe to help you promote. So do try and build a team of people around you so that it's not a solo endeavor wherever possible. It's completely doable on your own, but it definitely is more exciting, takes the pressure off if you've got a group of people you can not only delegate to, but you can kind of share in the wins and get excited when it's going well. It should be, as much as possible, a collaborative exercise. Now, you will be known in your community. Sports organisations are often the kind of linchpin of a community. They're the hub of what happens. Quite often, they're not just delivering physical activity, they're also working with local charities, they're doing community outreach. There's all sorts of wonderful things that happen in communities, kind of delivered by and orchestrated by the sports facilities within that community. So do utilize that. Maybe set some fundraising challenges or activities so people can raise money on your behalf. Do reach out to your existing networks, whether that's business, whether that's personal, to think about sourcing some of those rewards and sharing the project. There may be some local celebrity or some alumni that have come through the ranks of your organisation. Again, reach out to them and see if they can put some weight behind promotion as well. They might even be able to offer up a signed shirt or something like that to offer as a reward. And do not be afraid to highlight the community impact that you already have, sorry, and you will continue to deliver when you raise the money. And that's on your page, that's through your promotion. So that's something you really need to champion. Just looking at some of the numbers so far that sports projects have achieved, we've seen more than 7,000 projects come through the platform over recent years, and they've been backed by more than 450,000 individuals within their communities. And lots of these projects are grassroots organisations that and some of them are in really rural communities with not a huge amount of people around them, yet they've managed to not only reach their targets, but reach a lovely wide audience by promoting them strategically and effectively. We've managed to unlock and distribute more than £11.3 million in extra funding or match funding, and that is purely through the sports partners that we work with. That doesn't include those projects receiving money from maybe one of our additional partners as well, because you can receive money from more than one partner. So in some cases, a project may receive money from Sport England, let's say, and their local authority that we're partnered with. So always check to see if you might be eligible for more than one fund. And if so, we encourage you to put in multiple applications. Worst case scenario, you're having a conversation with those partners and they're saying, we need you to up your target so that you can actually crowdfund a bit because at the moment you're fully funded by us and another partner. Best case scenario, you've got multiple pledges going onto your page. So definitely have a look at that. And in total, those projects, sorry, have raised more than £39.5 million, which is massive, huge impact for those communities. And somebody who knows all too well about that impact and has been working with us for a good few years now on different funds from Sport England is the wonderful Lucy Gola. Thank you, Lucy, for joining us.
Morning.
Hello, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah,
Amazing.
so
Well, I'm going to leave you in Lucy's more than capable hands, and she's going to talk through the Movement Fund and how you can access that one. Over to you, Lucy.
thank you. Right, so the Movement Fund is an extra funder, as Zoe has already mentioned. So we sit on the crowdfunder platform, and it might be that if you're already crowdfunding, you might be it might be flagged to you as something you could be eligible for. So here's a little bit more guidance on the kinds of things we can support through the Movement Fund. In terms of funding, the amount of money available is anything from up to 15,000 per application. So any organisation can receive up to 15,000 from us within a calendar year. Projects can be up to 12 months in length, but make sure you read and check the criteria on the crowdfunder website. It's also on the Sport England website to ensure that what you're applying for is eligible. This applies to any application to any fund out there. Priorities for our funders to support getting inactive people active with a focus on certain priority groups. It might be those with a long-term health condition, from more diverse communities, people from more deprived areas, or those with disabilities. Now, these are just examples where we know there are challenges for them to become active. So, for example, it's up to you to explain your audience to us. That will be the most important thing. So it might be that you're looking to work with unpaid carers or young females. They will be projects that you can explain to us about that audience and why this is needed. In terms of eligible costs, delivery of activity is eligible. So that could include venue hire or coaching time for new projects. However, we can't simply cover your running costs for existing day-to-day delivery. And we also can't offer full cost recovery, such as regular staffing, utilities, or rent for a building. We can also support small-scale facility improvements. Could this be new LED floodlights that will enable longer playing hours through darker evenings? It could provide cost savings longer term and help the club with certain sustainability areas. But you need to explain to us how this project will lead to improved physical activity opportunities. For anyone applying, it's up to you to explain to us why your audience may be struggling to be active and how your project will help that happen. Think about your audience and what is needed to help them be accurate and over a longer period of time, so we can't fund just individual one-off projects. Understanding your audience is crucial and community is crucial. Get their thoughts on what they need or want from a local sporting or physical activity. How do you know that it's needed to happen? Are you working with any local partners such as youth clubs or after school clubs, community centres, for example? If you've got any doubt about whether your project is eligible, then please do contact us on the Sport England help desk on 03458 508 508 or drop us an email at movementfund@sportengland.org. In terms of the timeframes for the project, for the fund, it is ongoing, so there isn't a closing date, and projects can last for up to 12 months. Are we ready for the next slide? In terms of how to come into us, so you can apply. On the left-hand side, you can see the I'm not crowdfunding yet. This is an option where you can come in through the Sport England website. You could receive a grant or a pledge towards a crowdfunding campaign. On the right-hand side, talks about if you're already crowdfunding. So this could be that you've got a campaign in draft, or it could already be live. At this point, you may be alerted on your dashboard that you could be eligible for the Movement Fund. At this point, you can find out more, follow the links on the page, and it will take you to where you can submit a short application form directly to us that talks about how you know there's a need, talk about the budget, things like that. How do you know it's needed? And then just hit submit, and that will come through to us and we can review your application. But that is the route that we're really covering today. We're working with a lot of organisations at the moment who are doing crowdfunding. Sometimes they're those that perhaps it had not crossed their radar before. Sometimes it may be ones that are, this is something they've done before and they're well used to the process. We've got a team here at Sport England that will support you along the way. Every project that comes through to us is awarded a case officer, so they'll be there to take you along step by step, as well as obviously the team at Crowdfunder who are there to support with any other queries you might have.
Hi, thanks, Lucy. Sorry, clicking slides wasn't working for me then. It was having a my toolbar was sat right across the click forward slide thing. Thank you so much. If anybody's got any questions about what Lucy's just covered off, please do pop them into the chat box. We do have Lucy back and Becky as part of the Q&A. Are you happy for me to talk through the next few slides, Lucy? She's gone. She's more than happy.
Absolutely. Yeah, not a problem.
See you towards the end. So as Lucy mentioned there are a few different routes to applying. If you have already started your crowdfunding campaign, this is just an overview of how you will find the Movement Fund. So you will set up your crowdfunding campaign page, and as you're entering some of that basic information, our system will be matching you based on your location, based on your organisational structure, and of course your project aims with some of our funding partners if you are eligible. All you will need to make sure that you complete is obviously where you are, your organisational structure, and there is a whole section on extra funding. It is a tick box exercise, so please tick the box to allow us to share your details with our partners. Do make sure that you are ticking the boxes that are relevant to your project. So who's likely to benefit? What are the potential outcomes? All of these will be tick box questions. Make sure you give us as much information as possible and our system will match you. And as Lucy mentioned, you can apply for those funds through your project dashboard. The nice thing about doing it in this way is you have your application for your Sport England Movement Fund. You also then have the ability to be creating your project page, which is going to be an enhanced version of what you've applied for to Sport England for. So Sport England are looking for specific answers to their questions, and Lucy covered that off. So how are you going to be getting more people active? What is that audience that you're going to be working with, and what is the importance of that impact, and what are those outcomes from you delivering that project? Now, your project page is a wonderful way to be able to actually then kind of talk about who you are, what you're doing, kind of the fluffy bits, you know, the community impact bits, the photos, the personality. So have those two things working in tandem, and that'll be a really good start for a potentially successful application. Okay. So let's say that you have been approved then for Sport England. Let's look at, for the Movement Fund, sorry, let's just look at how that might go in terms of your crowdfunding experience. So you've received an approval on your application. You're then going to start thinking about going live with your project and bringing in the donations and the pledges to hit your target. So you're going to start crowdfunding, set your project live. You will then go out to your nearest and dearest, your close friends, colleagues, volunteers that you work with in order to bring in some donations. Always start small, start close to the project and close to you. And then once you have some money on your page, you're going to start then shouting about it on things like social media and kind of building out from that promotion to bring in more donations. Your initial milestone or the goal that you're working towards is reaching 25% of your initial target. And don't forget, you set your target, and you need to raise that money from at least 25 unique supporters, so individuals donating to your page. Once you have reached those two elements of that milestone criteria, so 25% of your target from 25 unique supporters, you will see a pledge from Sport England land on your page. All of a sudden, the amount that you've raised leaps up by that pledge amount, and you've gone from 25% raised potentially to 75% raised, which is a really exciting time. So get back out there, shout about it to your existing supporters, to your new supporters, potentially get the press involved, and you are then tasked with raising the remaining amount of money to hit 100% of your target. Once you have done that, once you've raised 100% of your initial target, you have secured that extra funding from Sport England. It's locked down. You're going to receive that as part of your payout, as well as all of the money raised from your crowd support as well. Now, if you have a little bit of time left on your campaign, on your live campaign, you might decide that actually we could probably raise a bit more. So you might set something we call a stretch target. That allows you to continue fundraising above and beyond your initial target. And that might enable you to just add those kind of wish list items to your project delivery as well. So always have in mind that additional goal to work towards. I mentioned about the project page. It's really important to tell your story effectively. We've managed to create a nice and simplistic, easy to follow template for you to actually use when putting your project together. What I would recommend is you just change the headers, so change the titles of these paragraphs. So rather than who are we, you might change that to something a little bit more personal to your particular project. Again, you can see the highlighting your community impact is key. Flood this page with images. Add a video if you can to the top of the page that people can share and you can share into your promotion. The more personality you can show in this page, the more engaging it's going to be for your potential supporters. It doesn't need to be a business pitch. It doesn't need to be, professionally edited video. Show who you are as an organisation, get some testimonials from those that you're already working with. If they're happy to go on camera, even better. But make sure that you are transparent and honest and show that kind of human personality. That's what's going to engage your supporters the most. We mentioned rewards at the top of the session. Rewards are everything and anything you can think of that you could give back to a potential supporter so that they can claim that from your page rather than just giving a straight donation. It can work twofold, so it can incentivize their giving. It can also help you to connect with local businesses and organizations that might be able to back you with a gift of a reward, and that will help to build your audience. And also it gives you a really lovely feeling to be able to give something back. It kind of breaks down that conversation of please give us your money, and it becomes get your hands on this incredible reward by donating to our campaign. So it can make those conversations a bit easier too. And we talked about collaboration, working with the local business community or with individuals who have products or services, or maybe just a skill set that they can dress up as a reward. We've just gone through kind of the exam time, GCSEs and SATs and all sorts of exams going on recently. Could you reach out to local teachers if it was kind of at this time to be able to say, could you offer some online tutoring for a nominal amount of money? Think creatively, think about the need at the time that you're crowdfunding, and also think about luxury items and money wouldn't buy experiences. So we've had all sorts of things come through in terms of rewards. I encourage you to go have a look at some of the different projects. But we've got some great data from the previous fund that we distributed, which was Active Together from Sport England. And what we noticed was projects that offered between 0 to kind of 5 rewards, so a relatively low amount of rewards, on average had 106 supporters backing those projects. And the average crowd pledge, so the amount that those individuals were pledging, on average was just over £50. Now, projects that had more than 21 rewards, which I know seems a lot, but they could be all sorts of things from putting a mention on a website to naming a brick on the renovation of the clubhouse to pitch side sponsorship, all the way through to tickets to a local event, vouchers for a high street shop. They saw that their projects had on average 153 supporters, and actually the average crowd pledge was up beyond £90. So it was definitely a way to incentivize the community to actually give a little more. Think creatively. Um, One that I always love to mention was a skate park last year who got really creative. They were going to be raising money as part of a beer festival because they wanted to be up there in person. They wanted to speak to people about their crowdfunder and the build of the skate park. And one of their rewards was buy us a pint, and it was a pint of concrete. So they'd worked out kind of approximately how much a pint of concrete was going to cost them, and actually they had that as a reward. So people were buying them pints of concrete to be able to lay the skate park. So think kind of tongue in cheek, think creatively. If there's a way that you can have it as a hook or a tagline, that reward is kind of almost the main focus of your promotion, it makes it something memorable. So obviously being up at the beer festival, that is the tagline that they went with, was to buy them a pint. And I think that was really clever. It works really, really well. So do think on that and think creatively. There are loads of funds that you can access on Crowdfunder, so do take a look at our extra funding page. We work with national and regional partners, and as I mentioned earlier, you could receive a pledge from more than one of our funding partners. So see who's funding in your area, who's funding for your project kind of delivery outcomes, and see if you might be eligible for more than one or two of these funds. Now, if you have capacity, you might think about people crowdfunding on your behalf. This is a brilliant way to help you hit that first milestone, for example. If you have other people running fundraisers that are linked to your project, you'll very quickly hit those supporter numbers and no doubt that 25% needed to unlock the funds from Sport England. It can also be a really great way to build your audience. By having people within your network running fundraisers on your behalf, they're going to be reaching out to their networks and it's going to organically grow your crowd. If you then decide to come back and run a prize draw or think about crowdfunding again, you've got a much wider pool of people to reach back out to. So when people do fundraise on your behalf, all of the amount of money that they raise, all of their supporter numbers do funnel directly onto your main page. And if you want to, you can also share access to your rewards with these individual fundraisers. Now, if I was to fundraise for you, I would just go along and click fundraise, become a fundraiser on your project page. I would then be prompted to set up my own little child page, we call it. So we have the main parent page, which is your project, and all of the child fundraisers. I won't be asked for any of my financial details. Everything I raise will go straight to you. However, I will have the same kind of template that you would have had. I can add images, I can create some really great engaging text and copy to put on there. I can make it personal to my experience as being part of your, your membership or a participant. So I would definitely recommend, if possible, utilizing that function. Even if it's as simple as approaching the local schools and seeing if they would do a non-uniform day or a bake sale, but running it through this format enables people to donate that much easier as well. We also mentioned prize draws. So what is a prize draw? It's essentially an online competition. People can enter and they can be in with a chance of winning an amazing prize. The way that it works on Crowdfunder is you would set up your prize draw. It's separate to a regular project. So there's a whole kind of prize draw section on our website. You would choose what your prize was going to be. Ideally, you want that to be something that's relevant to your community, that's going to be exciting for them to want to get their hands on. It could be something, like I said, a signed shirt. It could be an overnight stay somewhere. It could be a selection, like a bundle of prizes. You want to choose the entry price for your tickets. Again, you can have those as bundles, save a bit of money by buying more tickets. You do need to include a free entry route. So you'd need to pop some address on there that people can send a postcard to, for example. There are T's and C's associated with running a prize draw, and we do have templated versions of those as part of a prize draw page, and you can amend those to make them applicable to your circumstance and your particular prize draw. You would then go on to launch and promote it, just like you would do with your projects. Your supporters can donate to Enter as many times as they like. You can run it for as short amount of time or a long amount of time as you would like to. We recommend that running them for a few weeks is probably the maximum that you would want to run it for. They're great at being a short and sharp kind of money raising exercise. Some of the prize draws that come through only run for about a week. It keeps people excited. You know, they want to see who's won. They don't want to hang around for months to see what's happened to it. And then once it's ended, you can download all of the entries and you can pick a winner. And there are lots of kind of free prize winner tools that you can get, and whether it's a spinny wheel or it picks a name kind of at random. You can do that, do it as a Facebook Live or on Instagram Live or something to engage your supporters again as well. Get them following you on socials, and then you need to obviously deliver on that reward, but you would receive the funds in the same way that you would do a project. So why would you run a prize draw? They are free to run, so there's no platform fees. You keep what you raise, essentially. You can withdraw the funds quickly, and it's a flexible and a secure payment system, just like our projects, a really secure payment system for paying out. Can help you to re-engage your supporters, so keeping up that contact with them and getting them excited about your fundraising. You can run them regularly. And they are safe and compliant. So we make sure that we are following kind of fundraising rules and regulations, and our guidance helps you to run secure and compliant prize draws as well. In terms of prizes, think about something that's eye-catching and engaging. Work with your audience so you understand what might land well with them. Maybe it's a unique or memorable experience. If you can't get a great big prize, you might think about a bundle of smaller prizes, or maybe it's collaborative. So you might be working with a business or a celebrity, maybe somebody, again, that alumni or that celebrity that's come through your organization. That would be a great one, a meet and greet or a signed something, shirt, photo, whatever it might be. Now, when it comes to actually promoting your campaigns, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's a project that's been matched with extra funding, whether it's a prize draw, whether it's donations only, the way in which you connect to your crowd is key. So what you want to be thinking about is breaking up your audience into smaller segments, okay? So when you look at your community as a whole, it can be really overwhelming to know where to start in terms of promoting. And something that people do is they might kind of just scattergun and actually think, right, we've launched a crowdfunding campaign. Let's just shout about it. Let's just send an email to everybody we can think of and say it's live. Unfortunately, that's not going to yield the best results. I understand the thinking, but the best way to engage people is to actually make it personal to them. And the way you can do that is to break up your crowd of potential supporters into smaller audiences. So split your crowd into groups. That could be friends and family, it could be existing supporters, so that might be members or participants, could be local schools, local businesses. Break it down, and wherever possible, try and have a personal contact name and a way to contact them as part of that group. Vary your communication. So how will you contact each of those groups? If it's the local schools, do you know people who's maybe their children attend those? Are they part of the PTA WhatsApp group, or do you go in and speak to the head or the head of the PTA in person? It might be that actually with local businesses, there is a Chamber of Commerce that you could go and speak to. If it's existing supporters or existing members, maybe that's a newsletter, or maybe that's an in-person conversation. So vary the contact depending on the group of people you're communicating with. And how you tell your story is really key. So what is the message that best resonates with that group of people? Again, let's look at those schools. Could it be that actually the message to them is, we would love for you to fundraise on our behalf. We are going to be able to come in and run a fundraising day. We're going to bring our sport or physical activity to you. Have you got capacity for us to do something maybe as part of your summer fair, whatever it might be? But that is a message that's going to resonate with them, versus reaching out to the local businesses and asking, would they possibly offer a reward? Could you put up some posters in their venues? So think about what resonates with each audience and make that your primary focus with your call to action and also your promotion. Always keep your supporters in the loop. So those that have supported you, kind of, pledged to you or donated a reward, they really want to know what's happening with your campaign. So post regular updates to your campaign page, reach back out to people that you've not heard from, or if you have, drop them a quick thank you. They are on this journey with you, and that is actually what makes crowdfunding so special, is it becomes a community collaborative effort to get you where you're trying to be, rather than an individual kind of applying for things behind the scenes and the community only really realizing that it's happened when it comes to life. They really do care about what you're doing, and they'll want to be part of this with you. A great way to do that effectively, in terms of promotion, is to create what we call a network map or a network spreadsheet. Um, if you think about those different audiences that we've mentioned, if you have another column beside that, thinking about how you're going to actually contact that group, and then maybe a status column where you can actually keep on top of how you've contacted them, and maybe there's a need to chase, maybe there's a need to give them a nudge, or actually you can kind of green light it and say, yep, we've done everything, they're on board. It's really useful to have some kind of method to really understand how you've promoted or how you're going to promote, when you've done that, and do you need to do anything else in order to kind of action bringing that group on board. The reason I say that is it is quite easy to get lost in amongst the crowdfunder experience, and what you want to avoid is that overwhelm. If you've got some kind of methodology, some kind of strategy as to who you're reaching out to, when, and what you're saying, it makes all of that so much easier. And you can see a few examples of this on the slide. If I just take the St John's Primary, so the method of communicating with them is going to be word of mouth, maybe literally at the school gates or popping in. You're going to be running a fundraising event, or you're maybe going to be bringing a bit of a demo of what you do into the school. You've also, in the PTA WhatsApp group, and they are going to send out an email on your behalf, which is fabulous. So the status of that is you've spoken to the PTA and you're arranging a fundraiser at the school. So you would update that status as and when needed, and you'll be able to know how much has come through in terms of donations from that. Okay, we are approaching the Q&A, so do get those questions in. I just want to give you a few top tips to actually getting started with your fundraising journeys. So when it comes to crowdfunding, the first kind of 24 to 48 hours are really, really crucial. So do start strong. And by that, I mean reaching out to your core audience. So literally friends, family, people that are really close to you and the organization in those first 24 to 48 hours. If those people are not going to support you, it's going to be tricky to get anybody else to, because they are so close to you and so close to the organization. So warm them up before you go live. Say, please, can I get a donation from you on this date? Go live with your project, reach back out, secure those donations. Only when you've received money from that group of people on your page are you going to think about promoting it wider. That way, anybody that looks at your page that's a little bit further removed from your project or from your organization will see that it's looking really credible. It's already raised money. It looks as though it's en route to success. If you've done an incredible job of warming up your crowd, you might have even hit that milestone already before you start shouting about it and unlocked the Sport England pledge, in which case that's a huge way to go back out to your audience and say, look, this is what we've done already. Now come on board and give us your money, please. So yeah, think about those first 48 hours. If you can, know where at least the first 10% of your target is coming from, and you can reach out to those people directly. Set realistic goals. The more realistic you can be, the easier it is to achieve. If you think about it from your supporters' perspective, if you've got a really, really lofty target, and you are going out to your supporters and you've got no money raised on there already, or a really small amount of money, they're going to look at it and think, what is my £10 going to do? It's not going to help them. So there's a few ways to think about this. Either have a much smaller target that you know you can achieve. Alternatively, if it is a lofty target, can it be a phased crowdfunder? Can you run multiple back-to-back crowdfunders with smaller goals? Or if it is a large target, when it comes to promoting it, break it down into bite-sized chunks, into realistic amounts of money that you can set as as kind of goal, just goals. I don't know why I'm trying to say milestones and goals in the same breath. So it might be, this week we need to raise £5,000. The following week we need to raise X amount of money from X amount of people. Make what you're asking for an achievable amount of money. Tell your story effectively. We talked about that a bit earlier. It really does help to build connection and trust in who you are and what you're doing if you can showcase who you are, show that personality, show that transparency on your page. Be authentic. So that echoes that last point. So do make sure that you are keeping it real, in inverted commas, at every stage of your campaign, whether that's on your page, whether that's promoting it, whether that's in person or, radio interviews, whatever it may be. Just be yourselves, and stay connected. So keep up with those updates. Make sure you're keeping your supporters in the loop. Now, we have a huge amount of resources to help you do this effectively. We have webinars such as this. We also have webinars that we run kind of monthly, which are on those bigger topics. So it might be running a prize draw. It might be how to raise £5,000 in 5 days. It could be how to raise £1 million. And we're looking at some of those bigger projects and how they did it. So do keep up to date with us on socials and looking at our kind of events page on our website as well. You can come along to our Ask the Expert drop-ins and ask any questions that you have. You can also contact, of course, Sport England. They'll be able to help you along the way. And we've got all sorts of resources on our website, such as our Knowledge Hub and our Help Centre. And you can manage every aspect of your page through your project dashboard. And that's where you'll apply for extra funding, where you'll be able to extend or kind of close your project early. All sorts of great stuff on there. So keep engaged with the resources that we offer you, and that's going to really help you on your journey. I'm going to invite Becky and Lucy back onto the screen and we will go through some of your questions. I've seen the chat box has been firing away whilst I've been talking, so I'm hoping we've got a nice amount of questions in there. Let's have a look. Becky, I know you've been in there as well. Have you had any questions that spring to mind that you've spotted?
Yeah, there was a flurry of questions towards the end of your presentation, Zoe, and some really good questions. A couple of that would be good to highlight. So I noticed there's quite a few football clubs on the call today, so I thought maybe it's just a good idea to quickly recap our conditions when it comes to awarding football projects. So if you're a football club and you're looking to do a football facility project, what we would advise you to do is head over to the Football Foundation in the first instance and to check that your project is covered there. So if it's a facility-based project, head to the Football Foundation first. We can fund football projects that is funding football activities, so like your walking football, your pan disability football, girls football, that sort of thing, where you're looking to put on an additional session to grow your membership and address a local need for football provision. So that's where we can support football clubs. It's good to read the guidance on our website and Crowdfunder's website if you're looking to apply, so you know, and give us a call if you're not quite clear. And then Daniel raised a really good question, so it's worth just highlighting there as well. So if the amount that Sport England will fund is agreed before you start your campaign, and it won't fluctuate or decrease depending on the amount that you raise. So for example, if we awarded, if your project was 10,000 and you set your target at 10,000, if successful in your application, we would award you 5,000, which is 50% of your total project costs. You would then need to go away and set your campaign up with ours and crowdfunding support, and you would need to raise 25% of your target, so 2,500, from at least 25 unique supporters. Our pledge of 5,000 would then land, and then you would need to raise the remaining 2,500 to lock in our pledge. So you need to hit that target to fulfill the conditions of the award and get our award. Just wanted to clear that up quickly, just so there's a couple of people that are asking that as well.
Thanks, Becky. Just want to mention, and you'll receive it as part of your follow-up email, that I've got a lovely interview kind of pre-recorded with they are a cricket and football club. So they were recipients of the Movement Fund. And just to highlight what Becky was saying about if you are like a multi-sports venue and you're offering football as part of your project delivery, but not solely, this could be a good fund for you. You'll be able to listen to an interview with a lovely project owner as part of that email. We weren't able to get him in today, unfortunately. In terms of, we've had a few people asking about what happens if you don't hit your target. And I'll just cover it off quickly. There's more information on the website for you to kind of read around this, but essentially you decide if you want to be a keep what you raise project or an all or nothing project. If you are a keep what you raise project, you would receive kind of everything that you raised from your crowd, regardless of whether you hit your target or not. If you're an all or nothing campaign, you do have to hit your target to receive any money at all. The caveat with that on both of those is if you are approved for the Movement Fund, you do have to hit 100% of your target to receive the funds from Sport England. So ultimately, whichever one you choose, you want to be gunning for that target. However, if you don't reach it and you'll keep what you raise, you would still get that money from the crowd. I hope that helps with those questions. Okay. Did you see any others coming through? We've had a few about locations. So in terms of running a crowdfunding campaign, you can run a campaign to raise money for anywhere in the world. You would need to have a UK bank account that can be verified. In terms of our funding partners, and that includes Sport England, they are predominantly funding projects that happen within the UK that benefit UK communities. However, if you want to use Crowdfunder to raise money for a project in Africa, absolutely go for it. You just might not be eligible for our funds at the moment. Over to you, Becky, sorry.
That's okay. So Caroline's asked a really good question, something that we often get asked. So if you do any offline fundraising, so maybe you've done an event within the award period and you want to add those funds to your campaign, you can do, you just need to speak to us first. But what I would really strongly advise is that any fundraising that you route through your campaign, so find a way of linking that event or raffle to your campaign. So whether it be tickets to the event or rewards that are specific to take part in on that day, anything like that. So all fundraising, try to direct through the crowdfunder. But if you do offline fundraising, just talk to your case officer who'll be able to advise whether it can be added or not.
Thank you. And just to add to that, we do try and make it as simple as possible. So you can download a QR code from your project dashboard. And we've had some great, examples of people putting them on the back of a t-shirt or on top of a cupcake and, giving them out of fundraising days so people can scan it and donate that way. So we do try our best to make it as easy as possible for you to kind of spread the word and get them digitally donating wherever possible. But as Becky said, there are ways of doing it, but you need to speak to Sport England if you've been approved for their funds.
There wasn't many more. I thought maybe it's just a place to highlight. Someone asked about subs and membership fees. Through the Movement Fund, we're not able to cover the funding costs of an organisation. So if it's your usual operating cost, it's not something that we could cover. But those additional projects that you're putting on in response to a local need, and those are the sort of things that we can cover through the Movement Fund.
Fabulous. Thanks, Becky. And we've just got a couple of minutes. So is there anything in terms of really key like do's or don'ts that you would think would be a good thing to highlight for people thinking about applying for the Movement Fund? Maybe really key things to include in their applications, or maybe to avoid that you've seen coming through which have been declines?
I think one of the key things that we find is that it's great when people use statistics, that they've understand the research behind it about a particular audience. However, we want to keep it specific to your local community. So we understand at Sport England what the national picture will be, that you are experts in your area of what is needed. So that's why we suggest speak to your local community, get in touch with local partners who are perhaps looking for opportunities to help their attendees get active. That could be a local community centre looking for an organisation to come and deliver some adapted seated activity or Pilates classes or something. See who your local partners are, see what is needed out there. We want to understand what your research is at a local level to identify that need.
Can I just highlight as well, my top tip would be the first question. So in that first part of the application, where they ask you, your first paragraph on your project, answer the question, how does your project challenge in activity? So tell us how your project means that more people are going to be active as a result. And if you start with that question, it really does help with the assessment.
Amazing, thank you. I'm just looking through to see if we've got any further questions. I think we've pretty much covered them all. Just to recap that people will receive the recording to this as well as the resources, a link to that video as well that I mentioned with the project owner from local football club. In terms of any specific questions, you mentioned earlier, Lucy, that people can contact you directly. Are you happy for people to ask you about their particular projects, their organisations?
Absolutely. If there's any query and you're not sure whether the project that you're looking to do may or may not be eligible, just get in touch with us. We've got a team of 6 on the funding helpline. So if you call the 03458 number, you'll pick up one of us. And the movement fund at sportengland.org, that is an inbox that myself and Becky work on every day. So if you've got any queries, please do just get in touch with us. If you've got an active crowdfunder campaign already and it's something more to do with the technical side of your page, then crowdfunder is probably the way to go. If it's something more related to the movement fund specifics, then get in touch with us.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lucy, and thank you, Becky, for joining me today. And thank you, everybody who's given up their lunch breaks to spend it with us. We are on hand to help you to raise the money that you need. So please do reach out to us. Make use of those resources, contact Sport England with any questions, or come along to one of our sessions as well. And we wish you all the best of luck with your fundraising. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.